I mean, from day one, it was brutal. He brutalized us. The guy is a madman. But I got to tell you guys, this camp was tough. In the back of my mind, this voice is going, I don't know if I'm going to be able to complete this, like orders of magnitude harder. And I wanted to give up at that point. And then I looked at Adam, and one of the things that he said was, you are stronger than you think. I said to myself, if this is what it takes, I will give every ounce of my will. So I've been a cannabis smoker almost my entire life. And about a year or so ago, I really decided that I wanted to quit the habit once and for good. And I was having a lot of difficulty in doing so until finally something changed. And so I thought I'd share on this video how Adam Mizner and Psyche-K and Tai Chi and Qigong all conspired to help me kick the habit once and for good. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And I thought the story was kind of interesting, and also it might help someone else, inspire them to quit, or just give them some insight into what led to me quitting and how that process could possibly help them. So for starters, about 2 years ago, I started smoking blunts regularly for the first time in my life. Now, if you don't know what that is, that's when you take cannabis, marijuana, right, and you roll it up into a tobacco leaf. And for whatever reason, I don't know what really inspired me to start doing that. In the past, I had never smoked blunts. In fact, most of the time, if somebody offered me one, I would just turn it away. So I prefer to smoke it in a joint. Thank you very much. But for whatever reason, this one particular night, I felt like smoking a blunt, and so I did. But then ever since then, I was kind of hooked on things. And I didn't want to smoke it any other way except for that. And then, like I said, about a year or so ago, I really wanted to clean it out of my system, and I was getting some strong inspiration and messages from my higher self and from my spiritual teachers that it would be helpful to me in my growth and transformation, as well as stepping into my purpose and vision if I could put that habit behind me. And so I began the task of going about quitting, but I found it was very, very difficult. It was like, not only the cannabis was I hooked on, but the tobacco itself was really an issue, and I was having a lot of difficulty. I could only put together, maybe a couple of weeks at a time of space in between smoking, and then something would bring me back to it, and there I was hooked again. So I spent a lot of time trying to quit, thinking about quitting, and even when I was smoking, I realized I wasn't really enjoying it because I was like kind of beating myself up inside. I was using a lot of energy to in this, inner conflict of like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I told myself I was going to quit tomorrow, and I would just keep going back and forth, back and forth. And so I took some trainings, as a teacher, as a coach and consultant. I often help people to break habits and to make new transformations in their lives and to really step into their power and make massive growth. And so, I'm always kind of trying to up my game, and I had taken some really powerful trainings recently in the years. One of them was called Psyche-K, and it's a process where we can learn to program our subconscious mind with programs that support us in where we're going, and also eliminate negative programmings maybe that we picked up since the time we were kids, like you're not good enough, or you're stupid, or whatever the programs that people have running in the back of their minds that kind of limit them and make it more difficult to really kind of flourish, and actualize the life of their dreams. So I found Psyche-K to be incredibly powerful, and as soon as I started using it, there were some massive changes that I felt right away. And of course, I did some processes to help me to quit smoking. It wasn't really working right away, but I did notice from the very, very beginning that I instantly stopped most of the inner conflict. It was like, okay, well, I didn't quit yet, but I'm not beating myself up anymore. I feel like I'm going to be making progress. This is going to happen for me. So that's one thing I noticed right away. Another thing that I noticed is, I've been practicing Tai Chi and Qigong for many years, about 16 years or so ago, when I first learned some of the forms. And, I really got into more teaching this year, and I ran my first Tai Chi retreat early in the year. And after doing that, I really, decided I want to up my game. I want to really dive in again and make this a big, big focus of my life. So I actually did some Psyche-K balancing around developing myself in my Tai Chi practice. I really wanted to get really good. And so I've put some programs into the subconscious, and lo and behold, about a week or so later, I happened to come across this Taiji Master on YouTube, and his name is Adam Mizner. So very coincidental that I would use Psyche-K and then suddenly just meet this guy, and then just so happens that he's going to be doing a camp in the U.S., just another week or so after that, or a few weeks later. So I signed up for the camp. I went out and took the training. And just to give you a little bit of a background also on my cannabis use, I've always been a pretty high-functioning cannabis user. I've made some very good achievements in my life, even though I've also had a lot of difficulties, for sure. In fact, I even, got myself into massive trouble with the law, and I've had terrible relationships in the past. I've had some good ones too. But, I did have a lot of difficulties. But, I was also very high functioning. I mean, I've started several companies. I put myself through college. I got a 4.2 grade point average. I was high honors, Phi Beta Kappa. I graduated. And so, I was no slouch, but nonetheless, I wanted to accelerate my growth in many areas, and I didn't want to be addicted to anything. I didn't want to be, out of control and be subject to depending on a substance to make myself feel good. So that was, some of the reasons. But nonetheless, I was still having a lot of trouble. So fast forward again to earlier this year, and I go out and I take the training with Adam Mizner, and it was incredible. I mean, from day one, it was brutal. He brutalized us. The guy is a madman. I love him. He really, he's an amazing teacher. He's an amazing practitioner and master. And I was so privileged and honored to be able to work with him. But I got to tell you guys, this camp was tough. I mean, even on day one, I'm doing some of the form and some of the practice. And, in the back of my mind, this voice is going, I don't know if I'm going to be able to complete this. Like, this is day one. I've got a week of this training. Like, this is harder than I expected, like orders of magnitude harder. But, I looked around and I could see people like quitting and giving up, and I wanted to give up at that point. But then I saw other people who were not quitting, who were staying with it, who were giving it everything that they had. And then I looked at Adam, and, one of the things that he said was, you are stronger than you think. And then and there, I said to myself, if this is what it takes to develop myself to the level that he's at, then I will do it. I will do whatever it takes. I will give every ounce of my will into this practice. And once I made that decision, it changed. And I knew I was going to be able to complete it. And so I really, again, I had an incredible time and many, many benefits to the practice. If you ever get a chance to work with him, I highly recommend it. He was also very gracious at answering any of the questions that I had. I asked him a lot of questions throughout the week, and he took time to really, give us answers that were deep and profound, and obviously coming from his own experience and wealth of knowledge and wisdom. And, I think it was probably around day 5 or 6. It was one of the last days of the camp, and he was offering to answer some questions again, and I can't remember what the topics were at the moment, but I was just like, you know what, I really want to ask him about this cannabis thing. So I raised my hand, he called on me, and I asked him, Sifu, what is the relationship between cannabis use and Qi? And he was very gracious. He gave me quite an extensive answer, but the main point that I want to get to is that he said that cannabis smoking, it disperses the Qi, right? So it disperses it. And as a practitioner of Qigong and Tai Chi, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to cultivate Qi. We want to store it, we want to cultivate it, we want to gather it so that we can be able to disperse it at will for the purposes that we wish to use it for, to be able to put it into our goals, our aims, to help others and to empower ourselves. And so I realized, I was like, man, I'm actively working against myself by doing this habit, by indulging in this habit. And so I got home from the training. I still was, I didn't smoke while I was out there, so I did take a break. I wanted to give everything that I had, but as soon as I got off the plane and got back home again, my habit kicked in. And, again, I wasn't going to beat myself up. I did a few more processes with Psyche-K, and, lo and behold, I started to feel like, okay, now is the time, and I'm going to have the power and the willpower to do this. Now, one of the balance processes that I did with Psyche-K was I wanted this process to be effortless. I didn't want it to be that I had to use willpower, that I was going to have to struggle. I was tired of being in conflict. I was tired of beating myself up about it. Like, that wasn't working. I had been doing that for a long time, and it wasn't helping. So I wanted the process to be consistent, to last, and to be really effortless this time. And so I got to tell you, it's a few weeks after the camp that this happened, and I finally had the inspiration to put the substance down and set it down once and for good. And I got to tell you, too, that it has been incredible. I'm so glad that I did that. I'm so glad I took the training. I'm so glad that I had taken the time to do all that work with the Psyche-K. And it's a very, very powerful process in and of itself. So, one of the things that really occurred to me, though, while I was kind of contemplating the process of quitting and, what it was doing to me and everything, and I realized, once again, it's like, if I want to get to the level where he is at, if I want to really accelerate my growth, then, I'm going to have to do what he does. I'm going to have to, live my life in a similar fashion. I'm going to have to put down the things that aren't getting me there, that are holding me back, and I'm going to have to, brutalize myself and do the things that are very, very difficult, in order to train my body and to change my body into the Taiji creature, as he calls it. And so I must say that I'm incredibly excited and happy and joyfully, a non-cannabis user at this point in time. I don't vape, I don't take gummies, I don't smoke it. I've been actually very completely clean since I stopped using it. I haven't started again. And sure, there's been a couple days where I had some cravings, but what I was able to do is in my mind, I just kind of fast forward it, and I saw myself smoking, and I was disgusted, and I had that. If you've ever smoked cigarettes, for instance, you'll know what this is like. It's like if you quit for a while, and then you get a craving and you give in, so you're like, oh, no, I really want to, and you smoke. It's like you think it's going to be great, but you take that first drag and it's disgusting because, you don't have the habit is not in you, the nicotine's not in you, you haven't tasted that taste in a while. And, tobacco is kind of a nasty thing when you smoke it like that until you smoke it for a while, and then it becomes really, really good and enticing. You're like, oh, I love this. But you got to get that, it's an acquired taste, as they say, right? You got to get over the hump. Well, I didn't want to do that. So I was able to just in my mind go forward and see myself taking a puff, and I tasted it, and it was gross. And so I was able to say, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. And incredibly empowering. It's very, very empowering to not need a substance, to not need to indulge in a habit in order to feel good. And I also know that I'm living my life in alignment now, which is incredibly important to me. When we are aligned on all levels, we have real power, and we start to be able to disperse that power to to generate and create the lives that we want to live. So I just want to extend an incredible amount of gratitude, thankfulness, appreciation, and honor to all of my teachers, to you, Adam, to Rob Williams, the creator or the generator of Psyche-K, and to all the teachers that I've worked with in the past that have helped me get ready to the point to where I am now. And also, if you're interested in learning more about Tai Chi and Qigong, I actually teach online classes daily. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to find out more about that. I'm also, I've taken the several facilitations of the master facilitation workshops of Psyche-K, so I facilitate people online and in person, and I really, really love doing that work. It's produced powerful changes in my life, and I've already worked with many, many clients and helped them achieve fantastic results for themselves, getting them to dissolve and neutralize the stresses in their lives, to rewrite the subconscious programming that gets in the way of them really stepping into their power, moving forward and living the lives of their dreams. And in really understanding, what is it that's holding us back, and how do we move forward? How do we get past and let go of those limitations so that we can, experience a life of wonder and joy rather than a life of degradation and dependency and limitation. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks to everyone that I mentioned previously. Much love, much appreciation going out to all of you, and I will see you guys on another one of these videos. Take care.